The drama surrounding this fight continues to twist in unexpected directions. And the deeper the boxing world looks, the harder it becomes to dismiss what is unfolding as simple spectacle. What began as disbelief has slowly evolved into something far more complicated. Inside gyms, behind closed doors, and among fighters who have spent their lives in this sport, the conversation around Jake Paul is no longer casual mockery. It is cautious curiosity, mixed with genuine surprise. Fighters who expected to see a novelty act are instead encountering a man who is committed fully to the grind, the sacrifice, and the discomfort that boxing demands. What has caught so many off guard is not just Jake's physical transformation, but the seriousness of his preparation. Observers expected surface-level conditioning, a show built for cameras. Instead, they saw discipline. They saw structure. They saw a fighter who listened, who absorbed instruction, who respected the process. For many seasoned professionals, that realization forced a mental reset. The assumption that Jake was merely playing boxer no longer held up under scrutiny. His footwork, his reactions, his instincts to avoid damage, all pointed to someone who had internalized the fundamentals rather than mimicking them. The surprise was not limited to casual commentators. Fighters who know exactly what it takes to survive at the highest level began to admit that Jake was further along than expected. The late start in boxing still lingers as a question mark, but it no longer defines him entirely. Instead, what defines him now is volume. The hours. The camps. The decision to surround himself with people who would challenge him rather than flatter him. That shift alone separated him from the influencer stereotype that continues to follow him. Even legends of the sport acknowledged the change. The recognition was cautious but unmistakable. Jake's improvement was real. His punch carried consequence. His confidence was no longer built solely on bravado but on rounds logged and punishment absorbed. In boxing, there is a difference between confidence that comes from belief and confidence that comes from experience. Jake is beginning to blur that line, and that is precisely what unsettles so many observers. Heavyweight voices added fuel to the debate. The sight of Jake carrying more mass, moving with purpose, and embracing the physicality of the division shifted the narrative again. The new frame wasn't aesthetic. It was functional. Bulk added not for optics, but for survival. In a division where size is not optional, Jake appeared to be adapting rather than pretending. For some, that adaptation suggested danger. Not dominance, but danger. The kind that forces opponents to take you seriously. What makes this moment especially volatile is the split in perception. On one side, there is the belief that Anthony Joshua should end this quickly, decisively, without complication. A former Olympic gold medalist. A two-time heavyweight champion. Years of elite experience against a man who started boxing as an adult. That logic is sound, and it remains powerful. But boxing history is littered with moments where logic failed under the weight of reality. Upsets are not born from probability. They are born from preparation colliding with complacency. Some analysts argue that Joshua is no longer the destroyer he once was. That his punch resistance has declined. That his aura has softened. Whether fair or not, those observations create space for doubt. Jake supporters believe that space is where opportunity lives. Faster feet. Quicker hands. Less fear. They argue that this version of Jake is not fighting the Anthony Joshua of his prime, but a man navigating the later chapters of his career, balancing legacy with risk. Still, even among those who acknowledge Jake's growth, caution remains. Improvement does not erase gaps in experience. It does not replace years of championship rounds, of adversity against elite opposition. Jake may have leveled up, but the climb from competent to elite is brutal, especially at heavyweight. One mistake does not cost you a round. Costs you consciousness. And that reality hangs over this fight like a shadow. What adds another layer is the psychological warfare surrounding legitimacy. When even Anthony Joshua's words appear to elevate Jake's standing, it forces people to pause. Respect from peers is the currency of boxing. It cannot be bought. It cannot be manufactured. It is earned through shared suffering. When fighters who have bled for this sport begin to acknowledge Jake's progress, it reframes the conversation entirely. This is no longer about whether he belongs in the gym. It is about whether he belongs in the ring on this stage. Yet skepticism refuses to disappear, and perhaps it shouldn't. Critics argue that commercial interests are driving the narrative more than sporting merit. They point to the money, the exposure, the incentives to blur lines that once defined boxing's boundaries. They fear a precedent where belief outweighs qualification, where viral confidence competes with earned hierarchy. For them, this fight represents a crossroads, not just for Joshua or Jake, but for the sport itself. Carl Fraka's frustration captures that tension perfectly. To him, this matchup is an insult to the structure boxing has relied on for generations. His anger is not just about Jake. It is about access, control, and the silencing of dissenting voices. He sees a system protecting a narrative rather than allowing honest critique. In his mind, the fight is a mismatch, and pretending otherwise is dishonest. His reaction reflects a deeper anxiety within traditional boxing, one that fears losing control of its own standards. And yet, inside Jake's camp, there is no hint of doubt. Those closest to him insist this is not reckless ambition. They describe camps filled with elite heavyweights, sessions designed to break him physically and mentally, and a willingness to endure pain without complaint. They speak of noses shifted, battles lost and learned from, and growth forged through discomfort. This is not a fighter being shielded. This is a fighter being tested repeatedly, intentionally. Sparring partners who entered camp expecting to expose Jake left with changed opinions. They saw toughness. They saw resilience. They saw someone who did not wilt under pressure. While none claimed he was the finished product, many admitted he was far from the joke they anticipated. That evolution matters. In boxing, belief is contagious. When people who share the ring with you begin to believe, the world follows more slowly, but inevitably. Still, respect does not equal prediction. Even those who admire Jake's work ethic acknowledge the scale of the challenge. Anthony Joshua is not simply another step. He is a mountain. Size, reach, power, and experience combine into a threat unlike anything Jake has faced. Wanting to see Jake do well does not mean expecting him to win. It means hoping the moment does not overwhelm him, that the fight remains competitive, that belief meets reality without tragedy. And that is where the tension lives. Between admiration and fear. Between progress and punishment. Between a sport evolving and a sport protecting itself. This fight is no longer just about